You're in a good place now. You are listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. Question: what's on your mind? What are the things that you think about, the deep things you think about all the time? What do you ponder? What do you think about? And I want to talk about today on Live Your True Life Perspectives, I want to talk about doing everything. Living the life that we want and not feeling regret. Can it be done? Can it actually be done? Can we have a full, fulfilling life doing what we love to do? Can we do most of everything that we've wanted to do? Honestly, at least try it, go after it. And can we live our life with no overhanging, painstaking regret? And in order to answer these questions, these deep life questions that many of us ponder, many of us stay up late at night thinking about, or wake up early in the morning. I want to do this, or I wish my life was more like that, or if I could just do this or that, or what about this, or what about that? I think we need to begin with determining that anything that we want to do, anything that we do, before we do it, we need to weigh the pros and cons. We need to weigh the pros and cons. Because no matter what it is, no matter what we're doing, even if it's complete altruistic, again, we have to weigh the pros and cons to be sure that we're doing it for the right reasons. Are we doing it for the right reasons? And oftentimes we might sit there and say automatically, no, okay, wait, I have this, it's self-interest, it's because of this, this, and that, what should I do? But I think many times it's in the gray area. It's in the gray area. And because it's in the gray area, we can begin to question ourselves, to question our judgment, to self-doubt, to wonder, is this the right thing? And especially when there's conflict or confrontation or something on the other side that's not in your favor. Usually in life, when things are right, usually when the door opens, you can walk in. The door of opportunity, that is. And when that door of opportunity opens up and you walk in, you walk through the door and you close the door behind you, or you leave it open, whatever, and you walk down that hallway. Usually in those situations, it's carte blanche. You know, people are happy to see you. Life is good. But there are certain occasions where you have to fight to open that door. And is it the right fight to have? Is it the fight? Is it the right fight to have? Does it matter? Or are you fighting a fight with many, many cons than there are advantages? So begin by asking yourself, because this is going to get you closer to doing everything you want, because you can't do absolutely everything on the planet because you wouldn't have enough time. Okay, you can't really work 150,000 jobs, and you can't really go to school in 9,000 different universities. That's not going to happen. But you can try different experiences, but you have to remember that all these things are time consuming. What do you wish to spend your time doing? And some of you might want to do something different just because you want the experience. The experience is a big deal. You know, what about the idea that you actually followed through? The following through aspect of life. That's interesting. What about proving yourself? And I'm totally against going down a path to prove yourself to other people who probably don't deserve it. You hear what I'm saying here? You feel it? You know, a lot of times we spend our life proving to our family that we are successful. We prove to our friends that we are successful. We prove to anybody around that'll listen to us, I am successful, gosh darn it. But when do we want to prove to ourselves? And what does that look like? What does it look like to prove to yourself? Does it have the same look? The same feel? And better yet, how do you divide those two apart? How do you categorically look at both and say, quite interesting? How do you look at both options and say, you know what? I'm doing that for this reason because I want to prove X, Y, Z. And how do you recognize, because it's very important, how do you be sure that you're doing things, you're proving it just to you? Because in life, oftentimes when we do things for others, when we do things to try to prove something to others, it might be very empty. It might be very empty, and it's not necessarily genuine. Because why are we trying to prove to others anything? Why do we care so much what they think? So again, I ask the question, if you're going to do something, you want to ask yourself, why am I doing this in the first place? Okay, that's an easy question. Why am I doing it? Am I doing it to get a pay raise? Am I doing it to feel more successful? Am I doing it because I have to? Is it because of a debt of service? What is the reason why I'm doing something? And does it make sense? You know, the next question after you ask yourself why, because why is kind of a power punched word, right? There's a lot of things that can come from why. You can get more questions than answers, and you can begin to kind of see where things begin to overlap. So another good question would be, is this what I want? Is this what I want? Is what I want this? Is this going to bring me happiness? Is this going to help me in some way? Is this going to bring me things? So you have to really formulate questions based on these questions. Because when you think about these questions and you look at them and you analyze them exactly as they are, it helps to offset wasting your time doing things that you don't want to do. Wasting your time with things you don't want to do, and you might not have time to do it. So is it what you want? And I find it interesting because the judgment in this situation becomes clouded. It becomes clouded when we might find ourselves fighting someone else's battle. And I don't know about you, but I've done this a few times. I've fought other people's battles before. And some of them I helped out. And others, it was just that. I was helping somebody else fight a battle and putting myself in the line of fire. Did it really help me? No. Did I do the right thing? Possibly. But you know, you have to think about it. What about, are you fighting another person's or people's battles? Same battle, just a lot of people involved, and you happen to be involved in that same battle. So how much stress and strain are you willing to deal with if you happen to be the figurehead that people want you to recognize and to represent them in a battle that they are working on right now? And I'll give you a good example of that. Okay, you work at a company, and you work around a lot of folks, and recently a new rule came out on insurance, and it affected you on your health insurance, and it affected everybody else in your department. But you happen to be the person that people like, or you happen to be the person that is the most, you can communicate the best. Perhaps you might be the person that the higher-ups will listen to, or you might be the most articulate in the group. And all of a sudden, you become what? you become the leader. And sure, it affects you with your insurance just like them. Maybe not as much. Still mildly affects you. However, you got to ask yourself, is this battle worth fighting? And if there's a question about being able to win and you might have to be pushing up against a lot of resistance, is this something you want in your life? Is it something you don't want in your life? Will it add to the quality of life or will it add to your stress level? Stay tuned. Check out the website, ashleyburgess.com, Ashley, BERGES.com. Click on the contact page and reach out to me. I would love to hear from you on any ideas that you have for upcoming subject matter and subjects for shows. Stay tuned because Live Your True Life Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back this time. I'll be back this time in 2 shakes.
Turn it up and jump in the deep end on Perspectives. Now, here's Ashley.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. What's on your mind? A penny for your thoughts. Honestly, what do you think about all the time? What are the thoughts in your mind that go around in your mind, circular? Some might say a broken record. I'd like to say that my record is solid gold. However, what do you think about? What do you think about? And have you ever thought about how you could do everything you wanted to do and live the life that you want and not feel any regret? Wouldn't that be great? That's kind of a nice thing, right? You know, you want to do what you want to do and live that life and not feel regret. It's good. I like it. It has a ring to it, a je ne sais quoi that is of peace and dignity and craziness that you're going to do everything you want to do. And so right before the break, I was talking about when you're about to get involved with anything, you're about to do something new, you're about to take on a new venture, you're about to do something that's going to take up a lot of your time in life, you got to weigh the pros and cons. You got to weigh the pros and cons because if you don't, you just might get yourself into not a very pleasing situation. And I think it's always good to recognize what we're getting into. What are you doing? And are you opening Pandora's box? Is this something good in your life, or is this something that's going to take time, abuse you, be a problematic situation, and end up leading to the questioning of your own life? I don't know. That's up to you to figure out. The first thing you want to ask yourself in any new venture, no matter what it is why are you doing it? Why are you taking your time out of your life to do it? This is extremely important. When we ask ourselves why, we can ponder all the options. Is it because I want to do it? Is it because I love to do it? Is it because it's a sport? Is it because I want to prove something? And yes, I agree, proving something to yourself is amazing. But if you're trying to prove to everybody else, forget about it. It's a waste of time. A good example in proving yourself to others is for many of us as children, there is one parent that for a very long time, and maybe even still to this day, you're looking for their approval. Sadly enough, you haven't gotten it. And you've tried. I know you've tried. Going through school and getting jobs. And, the first person that you want to tell is mom or dad. And that person that you've been looking for approval from for so long isn't going to give it to you. Approval is a funny thing. Approval is a funny thing. And let me explain approval. Because I think once you realize how I explain approval, I think the light bulb is going to go off. And it's going to resonate with you. Approval. I want you to visualize a big jug of water. Visualize like a 2-gallon jug of water, however that looks. Okay? And visualize another one. And visualize another one. Visualize 12 of those 2-gallon jugs of water. Okay. And you're sitting at a table, and all those water bottles are on the table in front of you, and there's nobody else in the room. Now, I want you to realize that in this situation, take, for example, that a bottle of water is approval. Now, when you don't have approval, or you're looking for approval, those jugs are gone. There is an empty table, and the person who you want the approval from is holding the bottle of water, i.e. approval that you want so badly. Because you have none. And you beg, basically, through all your actions, everything you do. You change your life to get this approval. You do everything you can, and they still hold on to that water bottle as hard and grasping as possible and never handing it to you. You're thirsty for their approval. You will not get that person's approval until you no longer need their approval. Do you get what I'm saying? Okay. If you don't need approval, and you approve yourself, and you've proven yourself to yourself, and you're successful in your own eyes, and you believe in yourself, that water bottle that they hold no longer matters because you have those jugs of water on the table, which are yours. Do you see what I'm saying? So you've got to harness that own protection of your own, that own approval. You need to harness that and have that. And then you don't need to prove anything to anybody. And it's hard when you're dealing with a situation like I was talking about before the break, where you become the ally for a lot of people and they look toward you to help them. They look towards you to guide them. And any time that you are a hero, or you're the designated person of interest to help, there's going to be other people on the other side that will not like you. A lot of times we call this politics. And unfortunately, you're going to see the worst in people when they basically rely on certain attitudes to get them through. And so you really have to ask yourself, are you willing to put yourself in a situation where you might be disliked, where other people might have a problem with you, and where some people might be talking behind your back? And if you are and you're able to deal with that, kudos to you. If you're not, you want to second guess and really think about what you're doing. However, when we stand up for what we believe in, we do the right thing. But you have to analyze, is this truly what I believe in? Is this truly what I want? And is it based on my own justice for myself, based on my own proving ground to me, myself, and I? Again, is this what I want for my life? Or instead, am I fighting someone else's battle? And you have to ask yourself that anywhere in life, because it's a fine line, and many of you are dealing with this right now and you don't even know it. Some of you could be in fights with your family right now. Different parts of the family could be arguing and fighting because of something that happened. You're not talking to Aunt Shelley or Uncle Mark because of what happened to another relative. So you are fighting that other relative's battle too. You have taken sides. You know what I speak of. And when you take sides, you automatically are fighting a battle. Now, is that a battle that you need to fight because of your peace of mind, because of your values, because that tells you that you're doing the right thing? Or instead, are you just doing what someone asked you or wants you to do, and you don't feel that same desire and need to do that. Because if you don't, you're causing problems. You're basically having issues in the family, dealing with that, having this, friction and argument and confrontation for what? And so you have to really ask yourself, is this what I want? Because I'm about to bring on some confrontation. Am I ready for that in my life? Do I want it or do I not? The next thing I want you to think about, in any situation like this, it's going to be time consuming with a little payout. And it's probably going to weigh heavy on your mind. There's going to be moments that you'll wake up in the middle of the night. You'll be thinking about it. There'll be times you can't sleep. You'll be thinking about it. Does this lead to your quality of life? And sometimes conflict has to be. Okay, I am not telling you to walk away from conflict, because conflict can be one of the best things you've ever done. Because if you're over there holding your tongue, if you're over there not happy and haven't been happy for a long time, or you want your voice heard and you feel unheard, you've got to define it, step up to the plate and decide if this is what you want to do. In any area of your life, and analyze right now in your life what is happening and where this is, because you owe it to yourself to see and to recognize the direction that you need to take. It's up to you to do right by you. It's up to you to help people that can't help themselves. Check out the podcast of this radio show, Live Your True Life Perspectives. You can check it out on Spreaker, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and Mixcloud. Stay tuned, because Live Your True Life Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back this time in 2 shakes.
This is Jake Busey, and you're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. Tonight I'm talking about doing everything you want to, living the life you want, and not feeling regret. And that begins with what is weighing down your mind right now. What is going on, and are the things that you're dealing with, have you really weighed the pros and cons on everything that you're doing? Have you honestly, genuinely asked yourself the question, why am I doing this? Why am I? That's a big question, but it's a good one. Is it what you want? Is it what I want? Am I fighting someone else's battle? And to know realistically that no matter what you're doing in life, it's going to be somewhat time consuming, some more time consuming than others, and some with very little payout. Some with very little payout, even financially, material, or even emotional. And you've got to sit there and say, if I'm going through an emotional battle, and I'm dealing with like a family issue, and I'm taking the sides of one of the family members, is this what I want to do? What am I going to go through? What's going to happen? Is it worth it? Is it not worth it? But better yet, am I wasting my time, or am I going to mentally scar myself? And what should I be prepared for? These are all very good questions that need to be asked. And I think this is a very good show for anybody that's taking something into their own hands, that's trying to help somebody, that's trying to change their life, that's trying to get out of past issues and move on with their life in a successful way. The second thing I want to talk about is not to limit yourself to what we think success is. Oftentimes we limit ourselves. We have a definition of success and we go with it. That success is usually about money and power and home size and car and all that stuff that says that we're successful in this material world. And that's what we live by. Well, as long as I have that, I'm happy. Or as long as I don't have that, I'm unhappy. If I could just have that car. If my husband was just a professional ball player. Well, but is that really success? Or are we just kind of buying into this idea of success? And yes, I agree that having money to feed yourself and a roof over your head, and a vehicle to get from point A to point B is a very good place to be at. But aren't there different layers and levels of that we can work with? And better yet, doesn't that make sense? But why have we bought into a bill of goods about what success is, especially when we don't live up to it? Am I right or am I right? Okay? Why can't you be successful? And why do we have to sit there and say, well, I guess I don't live up to it. I guess I'm not successful. This sucks. Quite the contrary. Why can't we find the success in our life, really compound on that, and move forward? So the first thing I'm going to ask you next, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions right now. Because this is about you. What's on your mind? You know, who defines success? And who defined your level of success? Was this the way you were raised, your family? Was this what you read? Was this what you saw on TV? What? Who made up your definition of success? And are you successful with this definition? Because first off, if you're not successful with this definition that you use, then it's a really, really, really bad definition of success. Okay, so you've already cut yourself out. So why would you want to do that? But the second thing is, if you are part of the definition of what you think success is, what is that? Can't success be very massive in nature and really get you to that next level and that core? Can't success be defined in many different ways? An example is a woman that's married, that has 2 children, that is a stay-at-home mom that raises her children to love others, to care. She's there. She protects her kids. She helps them go to school, and she does everything they need and takes care of them. That's a definition of success. That's a great definition of success. Other people, on the other hand, would say, no, that's not success at all. Success is a person with a job at a Fortune 500 company that makes $1 million a year and went to Stanford. That's success. Some of you would say, no, that's not success. Success is, being in the NFL draft, being the top quarterback for the Cowboys. And others of you say, no, that's not success. The idea of success is being able to be a teacher at a school and teaching kids how to read and helping them. And that's success. Everybody's got their idea of success. Are you living up to it, or do you need to change your definition of success? That's a question for you to answer. That's a question for you to answer that I'd like you to answer. I think you should answer that. Tell me what you think. What does success look like to you? What does success look like to you? What does it? Interesting. What does it look like to you? Very interesting. Because when you think about success, when you think about what you define it as, what does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it smell like? Do you feel successful? Do you look successful? Does your life look successful? All interesting questions. If you think about it, aren't we just like a character in a film or a movie or a play or a TV show? You can be a character in whatever you want, okay? A cartoon, for God's sakes. You can be that. That's fine. But can't we define our character? Yes. And sure, our character was born with certain things, certain characteristics. But the reason why this show is named Perspectives is you can change your life perspective based on historical ramifications, based on the past, based on your experiences, happy and sad. We can redefine our perspective, offering us the character a look, a feel, a way to look at life, all those things. That's interesting. And we have to not limit ourselves, because when we begin to limit ourselves, we lose ourselves. We stop being our unique self, and instead we try to be what we think success is, and we try to be like everybody else that we find successful. And we begin to get into that catch-22, and we begin to not realize our success anymore because we're too busy catching up with what we think or who we think are successful. So what do we have to watch out for? What are some of the things that we need to watch out for that could get in our way, that could get in the way of our happiness, and affect us adversely? What are some of those ways? And the first thing that I think that we need to watch out for is TV and media that tries to sell us on a way of life that's not necessarily what we need. To be sure that we're living the life that we are supposed to be living, to stay on point, to stay on purpose. How do we do it? And I feel like with a lot of outside noise, it's easy to get railroaded to another direction. It's easy to get off track. It's easy to go to the wrong stop. It's easy to lose our direction in life. And so we got to hone it back in. We got to bring it back in. We got to circle the wagons. And we got to see things for what they are. We got to see our life for what it is. And we've got to eliminate some of these traps that are set for us and that we allow to be set for us in your life. And I want to talk about that because I'm not saying that all TV and media are bad. No, I mean, come on. I'm on the radio and podcasting, have a TV show coming out in May. No, but you have to really regulate what you're watching and what you're listening to and what you're hearing, because you need this content to be like what this content is: authentic, real, uplifting, guiding, truthful, authentic. Think about it. So you want to live your true life, you got to listen to truth. When I return, I'll be talking more about the traps you want to avoid, and then I'll be giving you 4 tips to being able to do everything you want to do in your life and to not feel regret. Stay tuned, because Live Your True Life Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back this time. I'll be back this time? Well, you know, I'll be back this time in 2 shakes.
You could be my luck. Get in here. You're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. I'm talking about doing everything you want to do in life, living the life you want, and not feeling and not having regret. You know, right before the break, I was talking about the traps that you want to avoid. Because life can be challenging enough to focus ourselves, to weigh those pros and cons, to do what we need to do, to make sure we're doing it for the right reasons, the right time, with the right timing. That's a lot of work right there. You know, the next piece of work is to realize what our definition of success is. To really realize that definition and to understand that we can be successful. And if our definition is no longer allowing us to be successful, then that means that our definition sucks. It's time to have a new definition. To realize what defines success, to see what it looks like, what it is, how it feels, what it smells like, how you can be it, how you can be unique and believe and have beliefs and do the right thing and still be successful. Very interesting, isn't it? And so I began talking about the traps that you want to avoid. The traps. There are several traps that you want to avoid. And one of the traps is TV and media. You got to be very careful. Very careful. Because there's some great media out there Live Your True Life perspectives, the celebrity perspectives. There's a lot of great things out there that add to your quality of life, that are authentic and real and truthful and add to living your true life. But there are things that aren't. And those are the things that you want to limit, ration, and eliminate. Because they're not helping you. They're actually discombobulating you and making you question and self-doubt. They do. And there was a time when I was watching some stuff on TV, and I'm not going to say exact names of shows. I'm sure you can start figuring it out. But, some of them are supposed to be just very entertaining, but there's messages behind everything. And you have to really watch out what you're putting in your mind. Is this helping me or is this hurting me? Is this offering me anything or is it not? Is this just getting me off target? What is it doing? Also, to watch out for advertisements. Not all the time, but for the most part. A lot of the stuff we don't need. And when you begin to think you need it, you begin to feel lesser than. You feel less successful. You feel like a loser because you don't have it. Perhaps you can't afford that $10,000 handbag and you really didn't want it, but all of a sudden you see all the ads and you're like, oh my God, look at all the people with the handbag. Oh, look, oh, so-and-so's carrying it. Oh, wow, oh. You don't need that handbag, do you? It's not going to bring you happiness. I know what's going to bring you unhappiness is the first time you put that down and it gets spilled on or it gets ruined, it's going to bring you some sheer unhappiness. What about the outside, the people on the outside, the friends and maybe the acquaintances and the other folks that are just talking in your ear about what they really want, and you begin to question that for your own life? Be careful. Be careful, because a lot of people will tell you what you need to do, but it really has nothing to do with you. Did you hear that? Think about that. Let that sink in. A lot of people will tell you what you need to do, but it has nothing to do with you. When was the last time that someone said that you should do something? You should take this job. You should try that out. You should get a 4-bedroom home out in the country and sell your place downtown and try that out. I've had people tell me that one. At this time, 1, besides my work, I could not move out to the country. 2, I don't need to move out to the country in a 4-bedroom home. I mean, who the heck who's moving in with me? But I realized every time somebody told me that, I would turn it around and say, you know what? Have you thought about moving out to the country? And usually they'd be like, I've been thinking about that. Have you thought about starting a family? Well, yeah, I have been thinking. You might need to move out to the country. Maybe a 4-bedroom home. That might do you good. See, think about it. It's the same thing as when somebody talks to you. Most of the time they don't even hear themselves. They're looking at you. They don't even see what you're wearing. I mean, it's all about them. They're looking at you. You're mirroring them. What are you mirroring? What are you mirroring? What are you mirroring? What do you want out of life? And people mirror each other. And sometimes I hear, clients say, well, I went into this event and I was wearing the same outfit as I wore 2 weeks before, and I felt awful because I knew everybody would know. Well, you know what? That's not true. Unless there was a lot of party pics taken and put all over town and the same people are there and the same photographers are there, well, then maybe. But outside of that, no. Most people have no idea what you were wearing because they were too caught up in their own life to figure it out. We give people a lot of credit that they're all figuring all this out. And most of the time they're not. They're not focusing on you. They're focusing on themselves. I mean, that's why our lives have become so busy, because that's what we focus on. So let me give you some tips on how you can do everything you want to do and live the life you want and not feel regret. The first thing is, remember, you come in on this world on your own. No matter if you're a twin, you come in on your own. And you leave on your own. So doesn't that mean that the most important relationship in this whole lifetime is on you? It's you. It's for you to learn you. It's for you to understand you. It's for you to love you unconditionally. And once you figure out how to do that, and that's what I help people do. That's what I help people do. I help you find your authentic self and your true calling, and I help you find purpose. And in that, I help you to learn how to love yourself truly. Truly. How many people can do that? Because they haven't done it yet for themselves. You can't teach something out of a textbook and make that happen when you don't know how to do it on your own. So the first thing is to get to know yourself, to love yourself unconditionally. Gray hair, glasses and all, to love yourself. The second thing is to realize that there is a higher power here. And meditation and prayer does work to clear your mind and to direct you on the path that you need to be directed upon. Oftentimes when I meditate or pray, I have this clear vision. And I feel at calm and at peace. Because I know that I'm walking the walk in the direction that I need to go. And it's fulfilling. And once you realize that and you can feel when you're in and out of that, you begin to be able to get yourself back into the groove and follow that and believe in the process. Last but not least is to follow your passion, to ignore old definitions of success, to get past that and to hone in on what you truly want in your life, what makes you truly happy. See it, believe it, and know that your life is supposed to be happy and healthy, and it's supposed to be your own. Live your true life perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess. I'll be back in 3 shakes.